Welcome to another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of August 25th, 2000. We got 3 movies to look at today, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, the cheerleading comedy Bring It On. I mean, the premise is pretty much as simple as you can get. You have 2 high school cheerleading teams preparing for a national competition, and you have Kirsten Dunst leading one of them and Gabrielle Union leading the other one. This is one of those movies that really should be about as cookie cutter as you get. It's a cheerleading movie. It should not be anything more except for the teen girls that go into this. You take a date to this on a date night, and then you completely forget about it many years later when you're nostalgic and looking back on what it is. That's what this movie should have been. However, this is surprisingly one of the more enjoyable comedies I've seen in a long, long time. I mean, it's a movie that really is, it seems like it's aimed for one specific audience, but it finds a way to expand to a wide audience and make for one of the funniest, most enjoyable movies I've seen in a long, long time. And I think it's mostly because of 2 things. One, a great cast. You got Kirsten Dunst pretty much showing her range as a comedic actress overall in this. I mean, she shows a lot of that range in this film. And this was kind of the movie that made people realize, okay, this is actually somebody that we really should be watching out for in the next couple of years. I mean, you also have Eliza Dushku, who was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer at this time, Jesse Bradford, who would later go on to star in stuff like Clock Stoppers and Slim Fan, Gabrielle Union, who's a really great actress. It's the cast of this is just really, really fun to watch. And 2, it really feels like a movie that's combining 2 really good 90s movies. Clueless meets Strictly Ballroom. In fact, that's what they sold it as. Clueless meets Strictly Ballroom. But it also kind of feels like a film that was written with more of an edge for everybody to really enjoy this. I mean, this is a film that really... I mean, it's really a film that feels much more than they're selling you. It's not just a movie made specifically for a specific audience. It's a movie that you can really come into even if you're not a big cheerleading person and get so invested in what's going on because of what they're able to do here. I mean, this is about as close to a movie on the level of an American Pie without being an American Pie rated R movie as you can get. I mean, it's a really fun movie, and it works that you have 2 really good minds here working here. Jessica Bendinger, who does a pretty good job of handling the script pretty well, and Peyton Reed, who, of course, went on to become a great director in his own right, directing stuff like Down with Love that came after this, The Breakup, and most recently the Ant-Man movies. Most of the Ant-Man movies are pretty good, with the exception of Quantumania, but even then, it's not a terrible movie by any means. But at the same time, though, this is just a lot of great pieces coming together and making for one of the more fun, enjoyable experiences. We talked about how Coyote Ugly, I feel like, was trying to be one of those a movie like this. But this is a movie that knows how to do it well and to be entertaining throughout the course of the movie, with not feeling like you don't know how you should feel about it. Like, if you don't really like the movie or do you really enjoy the movie, this one knows exactly what it's doing. And I gotta say, man, it's great. It's a really fun movie that really comes out of nowhere and really does give you everything that you expect, but even more than that. I mean, it's a really good, fun movie. If you haven't seen Bring It On, definitely check it out. It's one of those big surprises that you will not see coming, and you will find yourself really enjoying it. I know I was one of those ones that really came into it thinking it was just going to be another pretty mediocre cheerleading movie, but it goes to another level that I did not see coming, and really, I think it works best because of that. It's a movie that definitely is worth a watch. If you have not seen Bring It On, definitely check it out, because you will not be disappointed by it. So with that said, on to our next movie, and that is Wesley Snipes in The Art of War. So you have a story here where Wesley Snipes plays this operative for the United Nations Covert Dirty Tricks Squad, using espionage and quasi-ethical tactics to secure peace and cooperation. When a shipping container full of dead Vietnamese refugees turns up on the docks and China's ambassador is gunned down at a dinner celebrating a new trade agreement with China and the U.S., he's framed for murder and must evade the FBI and triad gangsters to find out what is really going on. And of course, the title of this movie is based off of Sun Tzu's best well-known book of The Art of War. But even if it tries to take from some great material overall, it can't work on that level. Wesley Snipes is too good of an actor at this point to really be forced into something like this. It's not really an engaging movie. It's not entertaining by any means. It's got also a really good talented supporting cast. I mean, Donald Sutherland, Maury Chaykin, Ann Archer, Kerry Hayuku Tagawa, James Hong as well. just a lot of good talent overall here. And supposedly this was written originally for Jet Li, and I think Jet Li probably could have made this work a whole lot better than Wesley Snipes. This was kind of at the point where Wesley Snipes' career was kind of taking that nosedive. I mean, granted he was still finding success with the Blade movies, but he wasn't making those smash hits that he were like early in his career, like Passenger 57 or what's another one, Rising Sun, or why do I keep thinking I'm missing one? Demolition Man, that's another one. U.S. Marshals. I mean, this was kind of still where he was still a pretty well-known action star, and this was, I think, kind of the first movie to see the slowly but surely decline of his career after this point. But yeah, kind of a disappointment, honestly. You expect a whole lot more considering that Snipes was involved in here, but apparently it was successful enough to make sequels for direct-to-video sequels, but still. But I digress. But other than that, though, yeah, The Art of War, not really worth it in the end. So let's go ahead and wrap it up with our last film we have here, the comedy The Crew. So the premise here is that you have 4 former made men played by Burt Reynolds, Richard Dreyfuss, Dan Hedaya, and Seymour Cassell, who struggle to get by in a rundown Miami hotel. They come up with a plot to drive out all the young tenants that are slowly taking over the beachfront hotel and driving up their rent. They take on a man that was found dead on the beach. They arrange what appears to be a mob hit and provide a note saying that more killings are to occur. Unfortunately, the old man they use turns out to be the senile father of a drug lord. The drug lord then decides to declare war on the kills of the father, thinking it was an action of his enemies. A stripper, played by Jennifer Tilly, learns of the old man's involvement and threatens to squeal on them unless they kill her stepmother, played by Lainey Kazan. Meanwhile, one man's search for his long-lost daughter, who is the investigative police officer, played by Carrie Ann Moss, tries to devise herself from her crumb fellow officer, played by Jeremy Piven, who's also his former boyfriend. In fact, I'm literally looking at the IMDb page. The first bit of trivia it says on here, this is no joke. Here, I'll show you right here, just to show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, it says, Jeremy Piven shared his thoughts about sucking Carrie Ann Moss's toes for one scene in the movie as follows. The question I'm asked the most is, what's it like sucking Carrie Ann's toes? It was tremendous. She has exquisite toes. Her feet were primed for the Matrix from a year of bouncing on them. We definitely nailed it in 8 takes that I asked for an extra one just in case. That is literally the first bit of trivia that's on the IMDb page, and, I've got nothing. Let's just talk about this movie as a whole and get away from that. I just literally saw that when I was reading the synopsis there. But I will say this, though. This is probably the best thing this director has ever done, because this is the same director that did the infamous Hot to Trot. And I like this movie, man. I remember I went to see this movie when I was 11 years old. Something about it just really drew me into it. I think it was because one of the guys was Charlie from All Dogs Go to Heaven, and that's probably that was Burt Reynolds, of course, and that's probably the first thing I thought of when I thought of this movie. And I like the movie, man. I think it's a really funny, silly movie, and you can definitely tell that Barry Sonnenfeld was one of the producers on here, because his style of comedy is all throughout this movie. If you see the trailer for this movie, there's a little bit of that comedic edge he brings to it, and even sort of the cinematography in this feels very reminiscent of a Barry Sonnenfeld movie as a whole. But I know a lot of people are not the biggest fans of this movie, but I really enjoy this one a lot. I like the camaraderie between Reynolds, Cassell, Dreyfuss, and Hedaya. Jennifer Tilly usually will be very funny in a role like this. Lainey Kazan's pretty good in here. Carrie Ann Moss and Jeremy Piven actually are very good in the film as well. I mean, the movie knows it's not supposed to take itself too seriously, and I think the movie really works because of that. You do really buy into the chemistry of these 4 guys as a whole, and you really do get invested in what's going on. I think it is a very funny, silly movie. It knows it's ridiculous. It knows it's silly. It's just a ton of fun. I really enjoy this movie a whole lot. Not a lot of people do, I realize that, but I could kind of consider this kind of a guilty pleasure film, and it's, you know, we also had Space Cowboys around the same time. And if you were to ask me which one was the better film, obviously I'm going to say the Space Cowboys was a better film, but there's more to it that actually works in that film. But this is still pretty good. I definitely do like this one. I think if you like a good, silly, fun, over-the-top movie, you can definitely enjoy The Crew. I do recommend it. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and we'll head into Labor Day weekend on the next episode with 2 movies, including the Highlander crossover some of you may be asking for, but most of you probably weren't, Highlander Endgame, and we also have Amanda Peet in the comedy Whipped. So we'll take a look at those 2 movies next time. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care.